So, Sony finally did it. They did what they've probably been wanting to do for so long. They're going to be stopping disc production for all Sony games after January of 2028. Here's what they say specifically. As consumer preferences in the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on the PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. The transition has no impact on games that already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends, as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical disc. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. We'll continue to prioritize our resources around innovation, whatever. And yeah, needless to say, this fucking sucks. Now, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I am not someone that buys a lot of physical media these days. After the PS3 era, I ended up getting only a few PS4 games and then a handful of PS5 games in physical, with most of the things I'm getting being in digital. Usually I would get it as part of like a collector's edition or something as well, for things that I really loved and really cared about. However, this shit still fucking sucks. And it sucks for a very large number of reasons. The first and most obvious thing is ownership, like actual ownership. Let's be honest with ourselves. When you buy something digitally through the PlayStation Store, you don't honestly own it. Not really. You don't have a physical thing that you could actually just use to load and boot up the game. You're essentially leaving it up to the whims of Sony's network. You still have to download it through them. So if for any reason that system were to go down, then your game is gone. Unless, of course, you manage to save it on your hard drive before that. But let's be honest, most games these days take up so much room on our hard drive that at some point you're gonna need to delete it to make room for new games. This also ties specifically to game preservation. If, for example, I don't know, the Sony PS3 store were to ever go down, then all the games that you could only get there would basically be lost to time. Oh shit, what's that? In the same fucking announcement, they literally announced that they're doing that fucking for PS3 and PS Vita. Wow, isn't that crazy? They really just wanted to rip the band-aid off with this shit, didn't they? Man, this gives me so much faith that in the future, the PS4 or the PS5 games won't just, fucking vanish. Now, I understand that the PS3 was a unique system, right? And the PS4 onward has essentially built up a library that basically seemingly works from system to system. That has been the benefit of newer Sony hardware, is that we finally have that backwards compatibility that we've wanted, but not for anything before the PS3. But what happens if you have only a PS4? Maybe you've been on a PS4 for years. That has been your go-to console, and you have purchased a number of games through the PS4 that you can only download through there. What if at some point they decide to discontinue the PS4 store as well? That forces you then to have to go and buy the next console, the PS5, the PS6, which is likely going to be fucking expensive. The point is, they can do that. They have the power to do that. Because again, you do not actually own these games. You do not have a way to play them that does not involve connecting to the internet and essentially downloading it from one of Sony's servers. And this goes to another thing that I sort of realize and makes this shit even more just depressing. This is pretty much the end of backwards compatibility with Sony. And I don't mean the PS4 onward, right? Granted, the games that you bought on the PS4 will likely have no way to be inserted in new consoles, because clearly the point of this is that they want you to download all of your games from them, have no physical media, so there is no way there's going to be a disc drive on the PS6 and beyond. Like, they're getting rid of it. The writing was on the wall with the PS5 Pro coming with no disc drive. The only way you could get it, you had to buy a second peripheral in order to attach that in there to use it. But I also mean all of the games that came before it, PS1, PS2, PS3. There was always a hope in my heart that at some point Sony would get their heads out their asses and realize the gold mine of games and things that have been sitting on their older hardware for years that have never actually made its way over. And there's still so many of them. I always hope that at some point, maybe they would actually go out of their way to make a legitimate emulator of some kind that would just allow you to play your PS1 through PS3 games. Have a system that literally could play everything. That could be the tagline, right? The Sony PlayStation 6, 7, whatever, play everything. How cool would that be? That shit ain't happening now, man. That dream is dead. Now, I know that there's already PS1 and PS2 games and some PS3 games that have made to the PS Store, but you will not be able to actually essentially use the ones that you bought physically to play them. You will have to buy them again. And again, so many digital only games exist for the PS3 that are about to be lost to time again. This was actually, by the way, a thing that was going to happen years ago, but people bitched so fucking hard about it that they rescinded the decision, which was like, yay, cool, awesome. All we did was buy ourselves more time. And that's the thing you have to remember with these huge companies, okay? You got to remember, they are not your friend. They do not give a shit about you or what you want. In the end, what they want is your money. That's all these big fucking Nintendo, Xbox, Sony, they're all the same. They do not care about you. They don't. If they had a way to get your money and give you nothing, they would do it. The sanctity of a gamer, the love of the game, that shit's fucking gone, bro. That's gone. For all the corporate motherfuckers that run these companies at this point, it's all about the bottom line. And the thing is, so many of us are privileged, right? To be able to have at least a decent internet and a way to access these games and download them in a normal manner. But bro, that is not the world we live in. There are so many other people out there who do not have the internet connections or the speeds or whatever to even be able to download some of these fucking massive games, all right? Like, holy shit, games are so big now, and internet speed is not equal around the world. So a lot of people were relying on physical media as a way to actually still be able to play these games. But now they're gonna have to rely on Sony's already pretty fucking shitty servers and whatever internet connection that they might have in the area they're in, which just might not be enough. They might be sitting there for fucking days trying to download the fucking GTA 6 or something. It's gonna be like 300 gigabytes or whatever, probably, or the latest Call of Duty. And the other massive blow of this decision is going to be to retailers. Dude, the retail business is going to suffer so much from this. They still say that there are digital retailers, right? But bro, how often have we gotten like physical copies of games through Amazon and other places, Walmart, Target, whatever, because they have them at cheaper prices than you would get from just getting them from the PlayStation Store, because that shit doesn't get marked down like hardly ever. And now what? Like, stores are gonna have basically a code? Hell, I don't even know if we're gonna be getting boxes anymore. Even the plastic box will seem like a luxury. But even at that point, it just feels fucking stupid. I'm paying for the box to get a code. It's clear that GTA 6 knew this shit was coming. They had inside information. This is why they did this. This is why they're like, yeah, we're just not even gonna fucking bother. Because in 2 years' time, we're not gonna be making any PS5 discs of this game anyway, so fuck it. We're just gonna stop right now before we even have to do it. But retailers are gonna suffer so much because now all of digital sales are mostly just gonna be done through PlayStation Store. And there's already a number of lawsuits that are essentially saying that Sony is creating a monopoly, which no fucking duh. Welcome to America. That is what we built this goddamn economy on. And no, I am not saying that proudly. Bro, you think retailers were pissed off about GTA 6? How about every Sony game henceforth after January 2028? Like, goodbye that whole side of the market then. And the problem is too, like, oh yeah, you might end up being like vinyl records, right? Where we'll just like post, it'll be like little small groups of like disc made games being made. But again, pretty sure that any new console we get henceforth is gonna have no disc drive and no way to add one. Because why would they? Everything's digital in their eyes. It's so ironic that when the Xbox One announced their always online and basically this DRM of having to check that your copy is legit, right? Sony basically did this ad with then President Yoshida of Sony sharing a PS4 game with a colleague to be like, this is how easy it is for us to share. Man, oh man, how times have changed. And that's the thing, again, these companies aren't your friends. On a whim, times change, tenure changes. The people who run the show cycle, and eventually you get back to the enshittening. That is just the way it works. The only time companies are ever actually doing things for your benefit is when they're desperate, when they have to suck up to you. But if they have the option to fuck you over in the worst way possible, they will. And that is the problem in the current landscape where Sony essentially has no competition. And you might be like, well, what about Nintendo? Nintendo exists in another reality, in a completely different existence outside of Sony. No, the actual competition for Sony was supposed to be Microsoft, but Microsoft's too busy blasting itself in the head with a shotgun 30 times. They've got their own can of worms they've been dealing with since the Xbox One, and let's be honest, very likely are not going to be around much longer anyway, at least at the rate they're going, which will basically leave Sony as the only modern day next generation console manufacturer out there. They will be able to just kind of do whatever the fuck they want, because where else are you gonna go? I hate modern day tech, man. I hate it so much. There is nothing in service of us anymore. Everything is done for the bottom line. Nothing is being done for the consumer experience. Seriously, there is nothing about this decision here that is for us, that benefits us in any way. All it is doing is taking away another facet, another way for people to actually purchase games and play them from the market. You now have to rely solely on digital purchases through the Sony store, and that shit's probably not gonna be marked down very often. You might say, oh, well, maybe because they're removing physical media, that means that digital games will be cheaper. You'd love to think that, wouldn't you? But let's be fucking honest. That shit's not happening, dude. Things do not get cheaper anymore. That is the current landscape we live in. Things only get more expensive. The PlayStation has already been marked up twice, and the Xbox has been marked up 3 fucking times. Dude, I remember back in the olden days when shit would go down in price. You remember that? You guys remember? I remember that. Consoles would be out for a few years and eventually you'd be able to get it for much cheaper. And that is the long and the short of this. And what makes this shit so depressing is that PlayStation consoles and consoles in general are basically becoming a luxury item for people that have a decent amount of capital. I still can't fucking believe that Sony is still planning to release a PlayStation 6. I can't fucking believe it. It's so stupid in my eyes that they would do that, because of all the RAM pricing and all the horseshit with AI is going to easily cost $1,000+. No question. Probably, potentially even $1,200+. It's gonna be something stupid. And a very large amount of people are not going to have the capital to buy it. And hell, I don't even know if I'm gonna wanna buy it at a price like that. And I do this shit for a fucking living. This shit has me so tilted, so fucking pissed. Because companies don't look for ways to actually give us a better experience. They said look to what they can actually get away with. What can they do to possibly get a bit more money out of us? And it makes me realize just how good we had it back when I was younger. Consoles may have launched expensive, but they would get cheaper over time. And it made it more possible for people to join in and experience it alongside us. And then by that point, there'd be a bunch of games out with that console that you could buy that would also be marked down. Remember the greatest hits they used to have? Hoo-wee. Those were the days, weren't they? I honestly hope that the bitching for this does not go away. At this point, a lot of us are pretty used to shit like this happening. This is not anything necessarily super new. And I also understand that a lot of people haven't been engaging with physical media for a long time. Again, I'm technically one of them. I don't necessarily buy it, but this is a big deal. This extends beyond just us. who are like constantly consuming a bunch of games, even if it's digital only. This is going to cut off so many people from being able to experience games alongside us. And isn't that the point too, is that we should all be experiencing this together? This shouldn't be something that is exclusive to those earning a certain level of revenue. This should be something that's experienced by everybody. Everyone should at least have a chance, an opportunity to be able to see and play these games in some way, and not have it all be relying on a digital format or a strong internet signal or a fucking $1,000+ console. And I think at the very least, Sony should be more than willing to keep open the servers for like the PS3 indefinitely, because that shit is barely a goddamn dent in how much money they still earn fist over fist every year from all of the shit they've been pulling, especially with, I mean, let's be honest, this has just been the continuous enshitting of the industry for the past probably 6 to 7 years. Ever since Sony has come out on top, they have basically try to find new ways to just fuck us over for a few more bucks. So I know that this is likely going to just kind of bounce off people, right? Go through the usual news cycle before we move on to something else to be pissed about. But I hope to God that that doesn't happen. I hope that people continue to be pissed, and I hope people don't fucking forget this. That shit doesn't have to be this way, that it shouldn't be this way. But how do you let people know that? How do you tell these companies that they're done, that you're pissed off with this? Well, you make a big fuss about it on social media helps, but to be honest, you talk with your wallet. Yeah, I'm definitely canceling my fucking PS Plus. I've had that probably for the last like 10 years at least. I've been subscribed to PS Plus for fucking ages. And that's just also been going up in price every few years as well. I'm canceling it, dude. I don't fucking need it. To be honest, I barely made use of it in the last like few years anyway. But I want to you to know that I'm not cool with this. That this shit is fucking whack. And if they're going to continue to pull bullshit like this, then I'm not going to be engaging with their products anymore. Even as someone who is actually a content creator, I'll just switch my shit to PC if that's the choice I have. Now, I'm just speaking for myself. This is, of course, you don't, of course, have to do this or anything, but I do think that if you are someone that cares about this, that this is significant to you, then this is unfortunately the only way you can let these companies know is through your wallet. You have to show them that you're actually willing to say no to them and tell them, fuck you, this isn't cool. Because in the end, money is the only thing these guys think about, which is why every console comes out these days with fewer and fewer features. Do you guys remember themes? Remember we used to have these amazing themes in our consoles? Yeah, that shit's been gone for at least 2 generations now. Thanks, Sony, for continuing to enshitify this industry. Also, you can fill the higher-ups' pockets with an even more gratuitous amounts of fucking money. I genuinely, truly hope that this shit comes back to bite you in the ass in the fucking worst way possible.